Hey guys, it's Spirit Link. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made my remix of Avril Lavigne, What the Hell. This is a remix that I took a lot of inspiration from Leotrix and the future rhythm style that's really making a come up at the moment. So I'm going to run you through how I started the idea. I'll try and get it into a flow of start to finish, like where I started the idea and how I ended it off. So the first thing I did is I got the acapella, basically just ripped it straight from YouTube since the acapella was already up online.
You say that I'm messing with your head.
So the first thing I did was I added some OTT to give it that more electronic richness that I put on all my vocals. I EQ'd the low end, put some limiting on it so that it would be completely more balanced, so that the lows aren't too quiet and the highs aren't too loud. And then I added a gate since the original recording actually had some background noise from the studio they were in, so I just wanted to get rid of that. So after I got all the vocals down, I tried to make a melody and some chord progressions. And so I just came up with this on Addictive Keys, the piano, since I think, like, I always have it open on my template. And if you want to get my template, tell me down in the comments and I'll make a video about it. But then I just made this melody with some chord progressions. I use this chord progression all the time. It's my favorite chord progression to use. I've used it in my song Clueless, Lose Myself, and Daydreamer. I just use it in pretty much every song. And then after that, I just made a simple intro with a Reese. I added some effects, like some atmospheres. Then that all, with the vocals, gives this really nice atmospheric intro, really electronic, really sets the vibe for the drop.
You say that I'm messing with your head. Yeah.
Then after that, I added some drums in the break, just to give it a bit of movement and some diversity to the beginning. Then all that together just...
Love hurts, whether it's right or wrong.
And then in the break area, I changed up the chord progression just slightly. So instead of going down to the C sharp and going up to the F sharp, I went all the way up to the F sharp, then went down to the C sharp and added this cool little synth from Omnisphere. It gave this really weird uniqueness to it since there's a lot of glitch effects built into the sound, and I thought it sounded really cool. With everything, give it a really huge atmosphere.
On your knees, begging, please stay with me. But
And then here we get to the build.
all my life I've been good, but now I think you're what the hell.
All I did different here was really I just added this ARP. I added a pad. Then I also added a hat underneath the drums. And then all that I changed in this second half of the build is I changed the drum pattern to more of a build type. Then I also added the lead with some filtering down here. So the way that I made the lead was that I got this sine wave. I put a pitch LFO just to give it a nice pluck at the beginning, give it a nice attack. Then I added this multi-band compression, which is basically just an inbuilt OTT in Serum. I put the gain up a lot, and then, because I wanted to push it into the distortion that comes afterwards. And with the distortion, it just makes it sound like a really unique saw wave. And it's a very common lead in a future rhythm. Leotrix uses it a lot. Then without the distortion, it just sounds like a normal sine wave. Well, without all the effects that are on the mixer, it sounds like a normal sine wave. Also added some portamento just so it has a nice little slide between the notes. Then after that, I layered it with a square wave and it being FM'd to a saw wave. So it gives this weird trumpet sound, but not exactly. It just gives a really nice brightness to the lead when you layer with the other one. Then I added some OTT on it just to tighten it up a bit, make it sound a bit better. Some chorus to give it a bit more stereo, some more distortion, and a bit of EQ with some delay. Afterwards, I wanted to make give it a bit more chords, since I don't hear it a lot in Future Riddim where there's like chords like this, because usually chords are just the filtered saw chords, but this one I wanted to make it a bit different, so I added this preset, which is just, it's basically just LFOing the octave to make it sound like an arp, but it still sustains the same chord. So the first layer is a bit more of a faster paced arp. Then I layered it with the preset that I made, which is a bit more of a chord stack type version of the other one. So it gives it a really nice wideness and makes it sound pretty cool. And then afterwards I added a sub, which is a sub by reversed. It's a super nasty sub. Without all the effects, it sounds like this. And so what I did was, it's entirely mono since your sub usually has to be. I added some sausage fattener just to even out the loudness of it and make it sound a bit more saturated. Then I EQ'd this part out, which is basically fucking useless after this. But I cut out all the highs because initially I used this because I wanted to clean up the high end from before, from the actual preset, but I couldn't get it to sound clean enough. So what I did was I cut out all the highs, the entire white noise from the previous version. Then I added erosion on it, which gave it this really cool brightness and white noise. Then I put that into a wave shaper to give it that really saturated, clipped sound. So it sounds super distorted. Then I added a reach to give it a bit more mid-lows. Then that together. Then when you put all the elements in the drop together. And one thing that is pretty much done on every single Future Riddim song is that you have the main melody in the first half, and then the second half you put it down an octave instead of necessarily having to change the actual melody. Just a very slight difference of just putting it down an octave can make it sound like a lot of movement and make it a bit more unique. And then the other thing that I did was I layered it on top of some arps. So I have the main arp from the build, but I also layered it with this cool square wave, which it's very basic arp, but it's really effective. It gives it a lot of movement, and it gives it a lot of movement and fuck. How do I explain? It sounds fucking cool. I just added some glitches in between, all of them from Affinity and Pixel Tower. Well, Affinity was in Pixel Tower, so it's kind of the same thing. Then after that, I decided to make the drop a bit more unique by adding this vocal chop just to reference it a bit more to the chorus of the song. Because the melody is inspired from the melody of the chorus with some slight differences, but I wanted to add the vocal chops because I think it sounded a lot nicer that way. They just have these pitch, fucking hell, what the fuck? They just have these pitch automations just to have a nice bit of movement in the end. The next thing I did after the vocal chops was I added the normal rhythm drums that you would have with a normal rhythm pattern. I think that's the best part of this entire genre. It's just that it takes so many elements from the old school rhythm, but instead you have it more melodic, you have much more modern sounds, and I think it sounds really cool. Then these are the effects that I use in every single song. It's just a normal crash and then this downlifter. So 2 crashes. This one I like to use when it's not the main impact of the song. So I'd have that like in the first section where it's not entirely the drop, so I have in the fake out. Then this one I always add in the main element because it's a lot brighter. So first you have this one, which is your average crash, but this one has a lot more attack, a lot more brightness. I think it gives it a lot more impact to the drop than the other one. Then you just have the average white noise downlifter. And that all layered on top of each other makes this really big impact to the drop. And the only effect that I really added to the build was this uplifter that I got from a Kashmir pack. Other than that, I didn't really add much to it. But other than that, it's kind of just the same thing throughout the entire song, just a bit different structuring. Like here, I sped up the hi-hats, added an open hi-hat. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much how I made the entire song. If you want me to go through any other tips like mixing, mastering, put them down in the comments. I'll be looking through all the suggestions of what you want me to do. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. And yeah, see you in the next video.